What's up, guys? This is Johnny Resendiz coming to you from the Star in Frisco. Day 2 of the NFL Draft is officially over for the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of needs were met, and really, whenever you say that, sometimes you don't go best player available, but this time the Cowboys might have done just that. Here to break it down is Garrett Podell with CBS Sports. Garrett, second-round pick Donovan Esaraku out of Boston College led the ACC with 16.5 sacks. What do you think of the pick?
I thought it was a home run pick, Johnny, for the Dallas Cowboys because, like you said, production. He was number 2 in the country in sacks with 16.5. And I really like kind of his frame. He's more of a finesse rusher. He's good against the pass rush, can improve against the run. But pairing him with Micah Parsons, this is somebody who could really grow and develop along this defensive line. And they really needed this. You're talking about filling needs because DeMarcus Lawrence is now a Seattle Seahawk. He left in free agency. And so getting a guy who's number 2 in college football in sacks, also good tackles for loss, stopping the run. He had 21 tackles for loss, which was also top 5 in the country. So I think he checks a lot of boxes, and my grade for this pick on CBSSports.com was an A-. I think this was an awesome pick for Dallas.
How do you feel about his fit with a Matt Eberflus-led defense?
I think he can fit in well. I mean, Matt Eberflus's defense, it definitely relies a lot on the interior guys really winning, and so that's a lot kind of on the plate of Mozzie Smith, the first-round pick from a couple years back, to really grow and develop. But I think with Micah Parsons in place, along with Donovan here, that at least on the edge, you have some confidence in that group there.
You know, it's funny, in his call, he said that he grew up as an Eagles fan, and now that today is going to be his final day as an Eagles fan, he's now joining the Dallas Cowboys, to the dismay of a lot of his family
He even
members.
told some people in the group where he was watching the draft that they had to take off their Eagles shirts because everyone was there in their gear. They didn't listen to him, typical Philly attitude, but he's fully embracing that Cowboys-Eagles rivalry, absolutely.
Yep, transitioning now to the third round, still with defense, the Cowboys picking, and it's not spelled out how it is spelled, it's not pronounced how it's spelled, ladies and gentlemen. It's Savone Revel, defensive back out of East Carolina. Your thoughts on that pick?
Yeah, this pick might be a little controversial because, you know, Cowboys fans wanted to see running back addressed, wide receiver addressed. Iowa running back Caleb Johnson was on the board at the time of this pick, but Dallas decides to go with Revel, and this is kind of a faith pick because the Cowboys are relying on their research on Revel because he tore his ACL in the fall, and they're probably relying a lot on their head team physician, Dr. Dan Cooper, because he did the surgery on Revel. So they kind of had inside intel on that. Now, if he's healthy, he's got a great frame. He's like 6'2", 194 pounds. Wingspan is awesome, 32-inch arms. And cornerback was a massive need for this bunch because outside Deron Bland, you have Trayvon Diggs, who had a knee injury at the end of December. And then after that, it's a lot of unproven guys. Jordan Lewis is now a Jacksonville Jag. And outside of that, it's fifth-round pick Kalen Carson from a year ago and Kyer Elam from Buffalo, who they acquired in a trade. Yes, he was a first-round pick, but Buffalo was very happy to just move on from him. So this is a Cowboys corner room in which if he's actually cleared and ready to play in training camp, he might be able to compete for a starting spot because Diggs likely won't be ready right away, and there's not a lot of proven dudes in that room outside of Bland.
Yeah, absolutely. Revel is kind of expected to be a 100% go in July. And, you know, Revel, you mentioned Jordan Lewis. Jordan Lewis was the best nickel corner that the Cowboys had. Now, with Revel's skill set, that need might be met. Do you feel that had he not gotten injured, we may be dealing with him getting off the board in the first round, possibly?
I think there's a very good chance that there aren't many corners with that kind of size and length and move as fluidly as he does in man coverage when healthy. And he said to us on the conference call, absolutely, I believe I'd be a first-round pick if I were healthy. So I definitely probably would say I don't think we're talking about him as a Dallas Cowboy right now, if not for that knee injury. However, it'll be interesting to see Dallas, you know, handle his rehab because he's supposed to be ready in July. Now, there are always plenty of supposed to be readies that never end up happening. Like DeMarcus Lawrence last year, for example. He had the foot injury up in New York in week 4. He tried to work his way back, but he never played another snap for the Cowboys after that injury on that Thursday night. So you kind of never really know, which kind of sets us up, Johnny, for a day 3 in which you would have to think running back and wide receiver would be addressed because there's still a lot of holes there.
That's exactly what I was going to go next. We have a guard, we have a defensive end, we have a cornerback. None of those are skill players on the offensive side of the ball. You have to think that is where the Cowboys are going to emphasize in rounds 5, 6, and 7. Right?
Absolutely, because on the wide receiver group, outside of CeeDee Lamb, who went over 1,100 yards once again, no one had over 650 receiving yards. Jalen Tolbert was number 2 on this team in yards receiving with 610, and that probably isn't going to do it. And then running back, after losing Rico Dowdle, they just have kind of one-year stopgaps with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders.
So far into the draft, though, do you feel like the running back class is deep enough to have a difference maker in those late rounds?
Running back is one of the deepest positions in this class, so the Cowboys are in a good spot there. I mean, you have a dude out of Virginia Tech and Byshal Tootin, who was one of the faster running backs at the Combine. So maybe you look at somebody like him late on or in day 3, and then at wide receiver, that's kind of a coin flip. It wasn't a really deep wide receiver class, and so the Cowboys would probably take somebody. It would be very interesting to see, though, how much that player would be able to compete for major snaps right away.
Yeah, wide receiver, a lot of them kind of taken in the first 3 rounds, but running back, as you said, you still have guys like Damian Martinez, guys like Ollie Gordon, 2 guys that are familiar here in the DFW area. But, you know, let's say that the Cowboys stand put with the guys they have in the wide receiver room right now. Where do you see that group as it stands right now for the Dallas Cowboys?
Look, all due respect to the guys in the Cowboys wide receiver room, maybe getting Kevontae Turpin a little more involved in the receiving game could be helpful. Incredible speedster and took a few slants to the house for touchdowns. But they really need to add to this group because, you know, they added Tyler Booker in round 1, right? So Dak Prescott should have more time in the pocket, should have more time to throw. But if CeeDee Lamb's getting triple teamed, I don't really know what you can do if they don't upgrade this wide receiver unit. I think there definitely needs to be some more competition in that room, because otherwise you're relying on the current group plus trade deadline acquisition Jonathan Mingo, who in terms of yards of separation per route run, he was one of the worst in the NFL this past season, and that's a guy that Jerry Jones gave up a 4th-round pick to acquire. So it's a wide receiver unit that needs definitely some love and attention on day 3.
Best part about the draft, you really don't know what to expect. Cowboys will not select in the 4th round for now. 5, 6, and 7, they'll be pretty busy. Garrett, appreciate the time, man.
Thanks for having me, Johnny.